Welcome. I am Shannon Saxton Murphy, and we are going to focus on some stream topics and templates, strategies, and a wind powered Popemobile idea. Before we really get into the guts of everything, I'd like to share a quote from Sister Mary Kenneth Keller, and she was the first woman to receive a PhD in computer science, and she was also a sister of the Charity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And she said, "We're having an information explosion, and it's certainly obvious that information is of no use unless it's available." So, my whole job here today is to share information with you and make some things available to you and help you to create stream lessons for your classroom. So, I would like to suggest that you take a few minutes, you pause this video, and you either use the QR code, type in the Google Drive, or you can either stop altogether, send me an email. I'll send you a direct invite link to the Google folder. Because in this Google folder, you're going to find all sorts of resources and good things to look at. But one of the things is a interactive notebook page, or really a graphic organizer, to help you take some notes as we go through this presentation today. So please pause, get what you need, take a look in that folder, and come back. Welcome back. I hope you were able to find the interactive notebook page. And I really want to start with takeaways. And there are three things that I really want you to have when we're done with this session. I want you to have strategies to create stream activities in your classroom. This is the first one. Two, I really want you to have a template to make it a integrated stream lesson activity, not just a STEM, not just an art activity, not just a project, but a stream. So we are going to start talking about some standards and really organizing that lesson. And I want you to be able to brainstorm some ideas, because my whole goal in any presentation is, or anytime I send my staff to PD, is that they walk back into the building on Monday morning filled with ideas and have something that they can use immediately in their classroom. So if you check out that picture, this is a strategy I learned not to do. I started this adventure and I Googled stream. And this picture is what I have. It wasn't stream as we know it. It wasn't science, technology, religion, engineering, art, and math. It was a picture of a stream. So that's another takeaway is don't just Google. So, I want to start by telling you a little bit about myself and the journey that St. Stanislaus Catholic School has taken to really focus on stream education. My name, again, is Shannon Saxton Murphy. I am the principal here at St. Stanislaus. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a history emphasis, and I have a master's in ed leadership. I have been here at St. Stan's for about 10 years, and I am in my 20th year of Catholic education between teaching and leadership. I also sit on the Diocese of Kalamazoo's Leadership Committee for accreditation and focus lots and lots on the NSBECS. And I also help with curriculum and textbook selection, and I'm highly involved at the diocese level in all of those things. So STREAM really became exciting for us at St. Stan's 2 years ago. Before that, we had lots of pieces and parts in place. We have an extremely successful Lego League team, first Lego League for our elementary students. They've qualified for state numerous times in the state of Michigan. We have a full working science lab with 5 stations that are all have gas and water in them. We also have a We're very blessed to receive a grant about 12 years ago here at St. Stan's for a full-size greenhouse that we use for all sorts of different educational purposes and for the community. One of the other things that really set us up beautifully for a STREAM initiative is staff. I am the only one on staff who does not have a math, science, or theology degree. So my staff was really invested in these subject areas. And has lots of knowledge that they take into the classroom with these. So 3 years ago, we got a new wonderful priest who is very excited about education in school and Catholic schools and very supportive. And he really bought into the STREAM idea. He allowed us even and helped us find funding for a STREAM coordinator. So in 1819 was the first year we had a STREAM coordinator, and she worked and pushed into the classroom, did all sorts of STREAM activities, helped research, found us some funding. It was a awesome opportunity. It wasn't highly organized. Her and I and another member of the staff even got to go to New Jersey to STREAM 3.0, which was a fabulous experience. And that started us to think and organize more of our STREAM initiative here at St. Stan's. And then a couple things happened that summer. As we were looking at engineering design practices and we were looking at the NCAA indicators for STREAM schools, I personally, I had two teachers quit. One at the beginning of the summer and posted the position, and one quit 2 weeks before school started. And I'm sure Michigan is like lots of other areas in the country. Teachers are really hard to find, especially rural teachers in Catholic schools. So we posted a position. We didn't have anybody apply for the position and that point, and I ended up teaching a second, third, and fourth grade multi-age classroom all year last year, including once school shut down in March for the pandemic. It was a very huge blessing, and I got to put my feet back into the classroom after being an administrator for 15 years. And it really gave me an awesome new understanding for my teachers, for curriculum, for what kids could do in the classroom. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of things that we could do with STREAM and how we could use it specifically in designing in our classrooms. So, by crazy fluke one day, I decided that we needed a STREAM activity. It didn't hurt that the 50-minute art block that I was supposed to have for prep, the teacher no-showed, and I needed to fill 50 minutes with an activity. So a couple of things had been going on in our classroom. We had just finished a unit in prayer, and we were starting to just talk about new playground equipment, which, is always a hot topic. And so I thought to myself, just kind of on the fly, I'm going to pose a question to my second, third, and fourth graders and see what happens. So I put on the board, the principal wants you to create a tree house for the playground so that students can pray during recess. I gave them 3 criteria. I said, you need a symbol of prayer. It needs to be off the ground. Actually, 4 criteria. Stand on its own, and you have to have a way to get up and down. I didn't care what that way was to get up and down. It could have be anything. What they came up with was absolutely fabulous. You can see a couple of those pictures there. One of them, students even took it and did a pulley system because they wanted an elevator in their prayer corner or their prayer tree house. One of them one of them even, we were finishing up some reconciliation stuff, and one of them said, I'm going to put a light on mine so Father can come over during recess, and just like in our church, the light will be turned on, and you'll be able to go in for confession with Father if that light's on during your recess time. It was awesome. I learned so much about kids, how they learned, how they prayed or what they thought of prayer. It was a fabulous end of unit assessment that created some engineering. It involved our science skills that we had talked about. It involved some creative art skills. So I had this great activity with no meaning. It wasn't really tied to any standards besides the fact that we had just finished a unit on prayer. I needed something to organize myself. So that's the first strategy I wanted to share with you. I created a template, and this template is was something that I created so that I could organize not only my own classroom lessons, but I could also share it with my staff and help them to organize their stream activities and lessons that they were doing in their classroom. So, in this template, I took what I knew about good lesson design. I knew that I wanted outcomes. I wanted to know what the learner was going to know. I also wanted it tied to standards. And because I wanted this to be a whole stream integrated lesson, I wanted standards for all of it, all of the meanings of stream. I wanted science standards, technology standards, religion standards, engineering standards, art standards, math standards. So I took all those and I wanted to put them in a template so I could use. I usually print these off and I do all this by hand. I have one to share with you today and one I'm going to leave in the Google Drive. But I like to do it so I can erase, I can color code, I can make it very visual. So I like this very simple template because it's visual to me. I also knew that I wanted to start tying stream lessons to Catholic social teachings. So I put a specific spot for Catholic social teachings. I also knew that assessment was really important. What was I going to do to assess these kids? What was that assessment going to look like? And I learned the hard way because I didn't, the first time I did this, use this template, have any materials listed on it. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit when I talk about our wind powered Pope mobiles, because we didn't have the right materials in our classroom. And I learned that I really need to now have a material spot on my template. So, another strategy I want to share with you is don't recreate the wheel. Use ideas, get ideas from other people. I'm sure even after my prayer treehouse, you're ready to stop this video and you're ready to even jot down an idea that might have sparked in your head and that's given you something to take back to your classroom on Monday morning. And that's really where the wind powered Pope Mobile idea came from. I found actually on Teacher Pay Teacher, which I know sometimes has great stuff, sometimes is not always the best, but I found a STEM challenge wind powered car. And I thought, ooh, that's kind of cool. Wonder what I can use that for. So we had just in our classroom finished a unit in theology class about the Pope, and we were also finishing up a unit on in science about designing, testing, and redefining a device that converts energy to another form. Now, my class was crazy when we were doing our research about the Pope Mobile. For some reason, that just clicked in their brains and they got so excited. They're like, oh, there's the Pope Mobile. Look at that Pope Mobile compared to this Pope Mobile. So I thought to myself, we can do a stream lesson and a stream project with wind powered Pope mobiles. So I took the activity that I found on Teacher Paid Teacher and I did some editing on it. And I will share a link to that because it is not mine. So I can't really share the full thing with you, but I'm definitely going to share the resource where you can find it and you can edit it yourself. So there were some constraints to this project. We had to use safety rules. They had to use the supplies that were given to them, which was pretty much all the supplies in our makerspace area. Their Pope Mobile must roll on wheels, so it couldn't drag when the wind was blowing. It had to have an attached wind catching device. You could test your Pope Mobile and then make changes to it. Um, you could replenish your supplies as appropriate. I kind of learned the hard way in some other activities we've done that if I gave them 25 pieces of paper, they would use those 25 and want 50 more. So I started to put some constraints on the usage of supplies. Um, they had to present their Mobile to the class. They had to share their data with their class, their measurement, and their Mobile had to have some sort of artistic representation of the Pope. So this led us to some awesome devices and some failures. We went through some engineering design. So we asked, we imagined, we planned, we created, we improved, and then we did some reflection. You can see this is the picture here is this is Nolan, and Nolan uh, was a very quiet kid. He was a second grader. He created some of the best engineered items that we had. Um, as you can see, he ended up changing that little cup on his wind powered Mobile so that it ended up having a bigger sail in the end because he learned that it wasn't going to catch the air very much. I also learned, and this is where it goes back to materials in that template. I also learned in this process that cardboard cutout wheels don't turn very well. So in further activities, making sure that I have something round, couple different options in my makerspace those days, and really know what materials that I needed for this activity. I also made sure there was an assessment piece like the template said. And there were two parts to this assessment piece. There was a how did you work in your group? And a did you follow all the directions? So you can kind of check that out. Here's Johnny. He probably had one of the most successful Pope mobiles that we created. And he really did that. We then measured as they used the fan to blow. And so you can kind of see that that was the product we had. Why he chose lime green paper, where red or white might have been a little more appropriate for the Pope, I never know. So as we created our wind powered Pope mobiles, I really started to compile some other strategies that were really, really helpful as I kept creating stream activities. One of them was having a makerspace area in my classroom. You can check out the picture. It had pipe cleaners and paper and glue sticks and cut up pieces of foam noodle. There was just a plethora of crazy things. Um, Leftover toilet paper rolls. We always have a supply of paper towel rolls, boxes, cardboard, you name it, it found its way into my makerspace. And so each of my classrooms here at St. Stan's have a makerspace. And my middle school upper L, we have now converted a corner of that science lab that I showed you before into a makerspace storage area. It baby jars. It's crazy what you could find there and what you could really use from there. Another strategy that I used throughout the year to create stream lessons and activities is I use the parish church. There are so many things in our churches that we can use. We built altars from our makerspace activities and talked about the altar and its special part of it being a sacramental of the church. My 7th and 8th graders did a full stained glass window unit on rose windows and looked at the history of our stained glass windows. We even had someone that creates stained glass windows from church that zoomed into us before Zoom was a thing, and did a whole tour of their plant where they created stained glass windows. So they really use your church for ideas to brainstorm and create and get thinking. And again, this is probably a great place to pause and keep listing some of those brainstorm ideas, because I bet you just went, oh, we went to mass this week and I noticed this really cool new statue in church. And how could we use that for a stream activity? Where does that fit? One of my absolute favorite strategies comes from Bible stories and scripture. And one of the neatest activities that we did last year is we use Noah's Ark. And, we hear the story of Noah's Ark lots and lots of times. Little kids know it. But we took and we looked at Genesis 6:14 through 17, and we looked at what it said about the ark. So if you read that, it says, "So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening of 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make a lower, middle, and upper decks." So take scripture. Take something like this. The Bible is filled with different stories about towers and buildings and mangers. Our little ones have even created mangers and built and used them. Now, we took the story of the ark and we had to build arks, and some constraints I put on this. We followed what it said. Now, if I would have had a little older kids, I would have put something in it, and I would have had them convert what cubics would be and made them specifically follow those measurements. But my second, third, and fourth graders weren't quite ready for that. So they had to create a floating device. And as you can see, we filled a crate with water, and we had them see if they would float. They had to have a roof. They had to have 3 decks, a lower and a middle and an upper, and it had to have a door on the side. So you can see us floating one of our arcs, as we called them, there in that picture. And again, these kids even have come back to me this year and said, "That was the coolest thing ever. I will never forget what the specifics were of the ark." So using a Bible story is another great strategy that you can use. My final strategy that I want to share to you as you are creating stream lessons and activities is I want you not to be afraid to make a mess. This picture here is of my classroom last year. It was crazy. You can see the mess we had made. And the thing about this was, and this is a great story, because I was principal last year and teaching full time, a lot of times father would wander down to my classroom, and he's extremely visual in the classrooms, so it was nothing for him to pop his head in, say hi to everybody, ask me a administrative question. And he came in one day, and this is what my classroom looked like, and his eyes got really huge, and he looked at me and goes, "I'll come back later. You look like you're a little busy." Mind you, I was hot gluing and had hot glue strings coming from my hands as well when this happened. So getting messy, not only is it awesome for stream and hands-on and gets you in there, it really makes those kids remember things, because they come back and talk to you and tell you, "Oh, do you remember when father came in? Did you see how big his eyes were?" So again, put yourself out there, make a mess, and really use these strategies to create lessons in your classroom that integrate all the parts of stream. My hope for you is that you got some strategies to take away, that you now have a template in your hand and your mind is going and you are brainstorming ideas to walk back into your classroom on Monday morning and try with your students. I always say it's a very successful conference that I've sent my staff to, or I've been to myself, if I take at least one thing that I could use the next day back with me. And I hope that I've given you a bunch of strategies that will make it so that you are able to do this. If you have any questions or thoughts or ideas, I'd love to share any of the other ideas that we have. We've done some really great things here at St. Stan's. If you're interested for more of that, you can contact me at murphy@ststans.net. Also, we have a very active Facebook page that also gives lots and lots of ideas and pictures, and we share lots of that with our community. And it's a great place that you might find some stuff as well. Again, thank you for letting me be a part of your day, and enjoy the rest of your NCEA conference.